All right, Jason, before we get to our next topic, Brittany's hitting us with a question concerning who will make the biggest impact for the Sooners from all the new guys, whether they're freshmen or transfers.
Yeah, so from a freshman perspective, we can kind of start there. Offensively, Mario Williams is a guy that, if he doesn't start, he's going to get plenty of playing time. Looked the part in the spring game. There was a lot of hype for him early on in the preseason from a spring practice perspective, but he played well in the spring game with the loss of Trajan Bridges. He'll be a kid that will play some. Kind of depends, him, and it's kind of an interesting discussion. Not necessarily, obviously not a freshman, but he's kind of a late transfer. Mike Woods from Arkansas. Be interesting to see how those two interact. Just in terms of who gets more team time, where do they move him? Do they move those guys around a little bit from the slot to outside or inside? What does that look like for them? So in the transfer, it's kind of actually let's keep on the freshman side here. Moving on to the defensive side, you got a guy named Billy Bowman who will probably play. He'll factor into that nickelback position at least from a at least to provide depth if he doesn't get that starting job. Played a lot in the spring game, played really well against Marvin Mims in the slot. A lot of times he was matched up one-on-one, covered, and really just it didn't necessarily look like a freshman out there. Other than that, those are probably the two guys that I would say from a true freshman perspective really have a chance to make a lot of noise, early on for the Sooners and some spots of need. Moving on to the kind of the transfer side, really a lot more impact there from my perspective on the offensive line. You got Wanye Morris coming over from Tennessee, who I would expect him to at some point lock down that left tackle position for Oklahoma. We talked a lot about Eric Gray. We'll get a lot of, we'll be the kind of the 1A, 1B punch with Kennedy Brooks there. Mike Woods is another guy that's going to play a lot that we just mentioned for Oklahoma as well. On the defensive side, you got Key Lawrence from a safety perspective. He will kind of factor into that rotation as well. So a lot of good transfers and freshmen that'll see some playing time for Oklahoma this year.